We are here today to explore Camp Nelson National Historic Site. Upon arriving, I noticed a stillness in the air. What looks like a quiet field in central Kentucky was once a lifeline, as a Civil War supply depot and a refuge for those seeking freedom.
There are men here who joined the Army, did so with great risk. They were tortured, many of them killed along the route, and when they got here, they were not necessarily welcome. The Army kept trying to push them away, and people hear that today and they say, well, gee, that seems unusually cruel and tragic. And I try to remind people, they were prosecuting a war here. They did not have any policies from the government on how to deal with these refugees. They didn't have any resources, they didn't have any budget, and so they kept trying to push them away. We created, and as I mentioned to you all, we've actually got some new cannon down there. So that's Fort Putnam. This is right here. The interesting thing about that photo, if you walk out this door and you look to the left, you'll see that the land slopes down pretty significantly. There's a big ravine down there. Well, so the Confederates would not have line of sight to be able to see what was actually happening here. So that's my open scale of, the operation here was a huge one. So now, are you truly interested? It was over in that area of the park, so it's not connected to.
Oh, I'll show you a minute, just in
okay.
case you want some. Do you have the little coins, the collector
We
coins?
do not, the tokens.
We always buy them for the grandkids.
Yeah, let me verify. Last time I checked, they had not come in. I think that is still the case, but let me verify that.
Once inside the visitor center, the story unfolds with the many preserved relics. A well-worn uniform, a mess kit, rifle rounds. Each piece isn't just an artifact, it's a piece of a person's life. Someone who stood here, someone who served, or waited and hoped.
That way we can just line it up, certified, drill it, and then it's good again. So, and you more than welcome to come with.
By 1863, Camp Nelson wasn't just a depot. It became one of the largest recruitment centers for African American troops in the Union Army. Over 10,000 black men enlisted here, many former slaves who took freedom into their own hands by wearing the uniform and picking up arms. For them, service wasn't just a duty, it was a declaration. You get a real sense of what life may have been like. Tight sleeping quarters, bare-bone rations, and long cold nights. The hardship didn't end with just enlistment, but for many it was a step closer to being seen as a human. The museum shares not just facts, but names, stories, a man's signature on an enlistment form, a photograph of a soldier, standing tall. These are voices Camp Nelson protects and shares. But not everyone who came here found safety. In late 1864, hundreds of women and children, families of black soldiers, were forced from the camp, left in the cold to survive on their own. It's a hard truth to hold, but it's part of the legacy here too. The cost of freedom, paid in full by people who hadn't been given a chance to be free. After spending time in the museum, stepping out onto the trail feels like walking through a living memory. As the breeze moves through the grass, you can feel the history. Fort Putnam sits up ahead, one of the defensive structures built to protect the camp. They may look like simple raised mounds in the landscape, but they were once part of a fortified network. Built by soldiers who trained here, these lines help guard the promise of freedom. From up here, it's all sky and open land. It's easy to imagine the scale of what once stood here. Tents, barracks, people coming and going, preparing for battle, hoping for change. Not far from the fort is a small, quiet graveyard, just a few stones worn by time. This is Wayside Graveyard 1. It holds remains of those who never made it home. Some were soldiers, others were civilians. It's humbling to stand here to read the names and know they were part of something bigger than themselves. Further down the trail is the site of Wayside Barracks 1. The area once held temporary housing for troops and at times for the families who followed them here. You can't see the building now, but the outlines are still here. There's something about walking these trails that stays with you. Camp Nelson is a beautiful place filled with enduring history. Every part of it speaks. You just have to take the time to listen.